How to use this bug. How to use this bug. Say how to use this bug. What follows is an introductory and intermediary text on specific hermetic practices for students desiring direct experience, non-material reality. Like any text on experiential mysticism or consciousness studies, this book contains explicit, detailed, and practical exercises that are simple to perform, transforming ideas into experiences. While it is possible to achieve results from each of the techniques independent of the others, it is neither desirable nor suggested that such a practice be undertaken. Each of the techniques presented in Between the Gates builds upon the ones preceding it. For too long, Kabbalah and Hermetic traditions have been top-heavy, with extensive and Baroque rituals under the false guise that complexity was the same as meaning, and that the effectiveness of a ritual could be measured in proportion to how long it took to perform or the number of props needed. An argument can be made for the exact opposite, that difficult rituals are simply the constructs of insecure minds seeking assurances and a profusion of symbols to compensate for their lack of confidence. All of the exercises, rituals, practices, and techniques presented in this book are user-friendly and can be performed by anyone after 1 or 2 readings. Their effectiveness is based on traditional symbols, key ideas, and regular practice by students, unlike some systems, which involve complex thought forms, egregores, or a multitude of devices, and, while designed to build confidence in students, also create dependency on external agencies or organizations. The practices herein will demonstrate the importance of the 5 key steps of both healing and spiritual awakening, or illumination. 1. Purification. 2. Imprinting. 3. Activating. 4. Transmuting. And 5. Direct experience. Purification. Preparing the mind and body for new experiences that are creating emotional, mental, and physical blockages to experiencing lucid dreaming, astral projection, and eventually the formation of the body of light. Imprinting. Consciously imprinting new ideas, images, symbols, sounds, and other useful devices into the etheric and psychic bodies so that the desired states of consciousness can be facilitated. Activating. Consciously, methodically, and confidently turning on the new imprints so that they may work towards the desired end. This, along with imprinting, is critical to any genuine esoteric initiation. Transmuting. Working directly with destructive or negative energies to use them in a new context or to modify them so that they are no longer an obstacle in your spiritual path or that of another. This phase does not mean purifying negative energies by getting rid of them and replacing them with new energy, but instead working directly with them and literally changing them into something more desirable. This is done primarily in the formation of the body of light. Direct experience. This phase is a synthesis of the previous phases and involves direct experiences of consciousness without the intermediary steps of either purification or transmutation. It also involves experiencing the new states as they arise or consciously creating them, simply resting or sitting in the experience while holding it as long as possible. The premise of this book is to be a technical overview of the key methods of exteriorizing consciousness used in Western esotericism that's actually user-friendly and complete. 15 minutes a day is all that is required to turn the information it contains from theory into personal knowledge, power, and experience. Start with each technique as it is presented, perform it for the period suggested, often 15 minutes a day for 1 or 2 weeks, and then move on to the next exercise. It is unimportant that you feel as if you have had any success with each exercise. Each person responds differently to psycho-spiritual work, particularly if it is a new area for him or her. Many of the practices will cover the same ideas, but from different perspectives, and a person may respond more strongly to the practice than to another. It's impossible to tell what practices you will respond to until you have performed them all. Think of it as a kind of hermetic buffet, where you get to taste all the offerings before going back for more of your favorite food. Another reason for performing all of the exercises is that many of them build upon one another. While it is still possible to have success if some exercises are skipped, greater success and satisfaction will come from having performed them all, thereby experiencing the intimate relationships discussed in the text. Students new to Western esotericism, or who have struggled with other texts in the past, will notice that Between the Gates is written to be as non-technical as possible and is based on two basic assumptions. Western esotericism can be discussed in a clear, simple, and straightforward manner and still retain its validity and authenticity. For any esoteric tradition to have meaning, it must be accessible, understandable, and practical. As a result, Between the Gates is designed to be an optimal text for both new and experienced students of spirituality for the following reasons. A great deal of emphasis is on the actual performance of the exercises, thereby creating an experiential context for learning. All of the text is written in English first, with secondary references to the Hebrew, Latin, or Greek terms. This makes it easier to memorize and absorb the terms and technical information, and minimizes the need to constantly look up definitions. This is intended to be a major step forward in the process used to teach contemporary esotericism. Many of the techniques are often considered very advanced, but they are presented in a manner that makes them easy to learn and apply. Regular use and practice will allow students to quickly identify the strong points, which, when combined with additional exercises in the text, can provide an even and balanced development of skills and technique. To help the readers clearly identify and use the practical material, it has been divided into the following types. Exercises. Methods designed to strengthen specific mental or psychic functions or to reinforce a theoretical point. Techniques. Methods that have a specific use and function alone or in combination. Practices. Specific techniques designed to enhance spiritual awakening. Core practices. Practices that form part of a student's daily and weekly practice schedule. Ideally, these techniques would be used in connection with a regular study group or as part of the Institute for Hermetic Study courses. However, personal instruction is not always possible, nor is it necessary if the simple and easy to follow instructions are carried out and sufficient time is given to intellectually and psychically assimilate the ideas presented. Nothing can speed up this process. Only constant, steady, and heartfelt practice can move it along. It is important to state that modern esotericism is radically different from its predecessors. It is practiced, for the most part, out of its cultural context, and information is transmitted in manners undreamed of by earlier students and adepts. The closely guarded and tightly knit relationship between students and teacher-initiator no longer exists. This has led many to believe that a teacher is not necessary, as they have the inner master to guide them. This is true, but only insofar as each student has the personal discipline, self-reflection, and honesty to listen to the words of their inner master. Until that time, an outer teacher will be needed. It is hoped that this book will act in some fashion as that outer teacher. If at this point you are thinking there must be an easier way, let me state firmly and unequivocally that there is not. If psychic development, alchemical transformation, or cosmic consciousness were easy, the world would be a paradise and illumination a common experience. The path of becoming is the great work, is the single greatest challenge and undertaking anyone can pursue. Its rewards come daily in small, mostly unnoticed ways, all accumulating in that moment when the great awakening will occur. If you wish the quick and easy road, then stop looking, for none exists except the road to sorrow and disappointment. Magic, alchemy, and spiritual healing are not for the lazy, but for the brave. While it may seem that it is all up to you, and you do not know what you are doing, where you're going, or what to expect, know that there are invisible aids helping you all along. Friends, strangers, books like this will come to you in times of need until you are able to listen to the inner voice master, to the voice of the inner master, and need to read no more. No matter what, remember this: by the very fact that you call upon God, the archangels, the invisible ones of creation, they respond and are present with you. They are always there, and in our petition, we become aware of them. Establishing a program. Here are a few tips for enhancing your learning and your experience. 1. Daily practice is essential. Establish a regular daily schedule for 15 minutes a day. If you have the opportunity to spend a few minutes during the day working on a particular visualization or meditation in addition to your regular program, all the better. But it is better to have 3 or 4 short sessions a day for 10 or 15 minutes than to try and cram everything into one long session. The brain and the stomach like their food in small digestible doses, several times a day rather than in one sitting. The more time you spend on the techniques, the more proficient you will become in them. The easier it will be to apply Kabbalah, and the more enjoyable it will be. 2. Keep a notebook of your experiences. This is important for self-review and for understanding your dream life and the activation of symbols within your psyche. 3. If possible, set aside a special place just for this work. If that is not possible, use a regular opening and closing ritual, such as the one given, to set the proper atmosphere for the work to be performed. 4. Be regular in your time of practice. By creating healthy habits of time and place, we make our study period something we look forward to and enjoy. 5. Make haste slowly. Spend the proper amount of time on each exercise. Move on to the next and complete each phase of practice in order with calm, relaxed confidence that everything is working inside you just as it should. You will surprise yourself at the power and ability you possess. It is there when you need it, even if you are not always conscious of it. 6. Take notes as you read. Write down the key ideas as they are presented to you. As they are presented so that you are better able to remember and apply them. To assist in this, words in Hebrew, Latin, Greek, or any language other than English follow the modern equivalent in parentheses. Get the core ideas down first, then go back and learn the vocabulary. 7. Take time to learn the technical terms. This book contains a glossary of all the non-English words used in the text. To make reading and using the material presented easier, only a limited amount of non-English words have been used. But it is important that you learn these non-English words, because they are the technical language of Kabbalah. Knowing them will make it easier to read other Kabbalah texts, which are often not as user-friendly as this one. 8. Study with a friend or two if possible. The power of collective work to spark individual insights and transformations is well documented. The New Testament says it simply: "Where 2 or more are gathered together in my name, I will be in the midst of them." 2 or 3 students working regularly have been often produced marvelous results, and historically small groups have been the basis for some of the most important esoteric as well as exoteric organizations in history.